Εξομολογήστε το Κύριο ότι αγαθός, αλληλούια.
Ότι στον αιώνα το έλεος αυτού, αλληλούια.
Any other questions? I'll take one more before I move on. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, thank God, grace. He speaks. He speaks.
Yeah.
Oh, he speaks.
Don't get me involved in whatever beef you guys have got.
We don't do beefs.
Go on. What's your point? What's your question? What's your question?
My question is, are you able to find any common ground with the Muslims?
So, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, can I find common ground with Muslims? The answer is yes. Wherever Muslims are willing to ally themselves with Christians as Christians pursue a Christian political agenda.
Never happened.
If they are willing to ally themselves with us on our terms in pursuing our goals by our methods to our ends, then we can find common ground. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the common ground.
That's not a
Are you
common
wanting
ground.
to debate? Would you like to debate?
Well, I was asking you a question.
Would you like to debate? Would you like to
No, I'm not here
debate?
to debate.
Okay, so let me continue with my
Yeah,
presentation
but
then.
I'm just saying.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
What your answer to my
sir,
question.
sir, do you want to debate?
You
Okay,
invited-
we're going to have a
you invited
debate.
me-
We're going to have a debate.
We're not going to have.
We are having a debate. We are having a debate. Go on.
You invited me to ask a question.
Yes, but then you forced yourself into a conversation, so let's have a debate.
How is it I force myself?
No, I'm not
into
having
the-
a debate about you.
How
Let's
is
talk about the
how
topic.
is it- you're full of shit. How is it that I force myself into the conversation?
What's your
when you-
objection to
when-
my answer?
Well, the question was, are you able to find any common
And I
ground?
answered that question.
And you spouted off a whole
Correct.
spiel about yes, but it didn't.
What did I actually
but
say?
He said yes, so long as they fall in line and do what we want
Correct.
them to do. And
That answers your question.
So, but that's not common. That's not my idea of common ground.
But you don't get to define what the common ground is. Why
but
should
you
we
do.
listen? Why should we listen
Well, common ground
to
is
you
common ground.
and your definition of the common ground?
well, yeah,
Why should we listen to you?
you don't have to listen to me. I
Exactly.
Don't have to listen to you.
But that's. But you're saying that I don't. You're saying that
I'm
I
looking
shouldn't
for-
define the common ground.
Well, you can define what you like. You've been doing it all afternoon, but it doesn't mean it's right. What you say.
Well,
about
what's wrong
common-
with it then? What's wrong with the idea of
Because
Christians
common
pursuing?
Nothing.
Go on. Right.
Christians pursue your
On their own
agenda.
terms, thank
on
you.
On their own terms, but never that's one thing, right? That's you do your thing, but that's not talking about common ground. You're trying
No.
to infer.
Go on, I'll
that
let you
common
finish and then I'll
ground
reply.
Is Muslims simply supporting that agenda, and that it gives no impression, Bob, whatsoever, of your ability through your fear and prejudice and your hate and your fear mongering and your hate preaching, your Christian jihadist hate preaching. You got no sense. You give no sense at all of the ability to find common ground.
Right, let me
Not
reply to
at
that
all.
then. Let me reply to that. Here's the problem. You're assuming that there is some kind of neutral ground that we can both inhabit. And you're assuming that because you have made sloppy, lazy thinking. The reality is, you don't like Christians affirming that they have an agenda and that the common ground should be found on that agenda, because without thinking it through, you think that there's some neutral ground that we can both exist.
No,
I want to. Well,
that's
I am
not
finished.
correct.
Let me land. Let me finish.
Yeah, you can
Your
carry on
assumption.
digging a deeper
Your
hole.
assumption.
You go on and on and
your
on
assumption.
in the way that you do.
Your
But that
assumption.
patently is
Your
nonsense.
assumption.
You're patently-
Your assumption.
patently talking
Your
nonsense, Bob.
assumption.
You're patently talking
Your
nonsense.
assumption.
I don't want to listen to
Your
your patent
assumption.
nonsense.
Your
No, I don't
assumption.
talk- about
your
my
assumption,
you're talking
okay,
nonsense.
so he doesn't want to have a conversation. I'll just say to you,
No,
his assumption is that there is a third space where we can have neutrality, and that I want him to define what the common ground is that he thinks we should adopt. And then you'll see that what he really means is that we should adopt a common ground that is according to his ideology. So go on, what is the common ground?
On the record, you just gave a little bit of a speech about the Christian position, if I can call it that, not being left and not being right.
Correct.
You gave a whole litany of social concerns, let's say, that are Christian concerns that are also either leftist concerns,
correct,
or conversely rightist concerns. And
correct.
I have to say that most of those concerns that you mentioned, as a Muslim, I can quite genuinely recognise as Muslim concerns too. So
what's the common ground?
Well,
what's the common ground that you think we should unite on?
Well,
you've not thought this through, have you? Not one little bit.
Bob, you're not trying to find the common ground.
So you tell me what is the common ground?
Are you trying to tell me that there is none?
I am saying that there is a common ground based on the Christian political agenda.
This is yeah, and I'm saying yes. In much that you mentioned about the issues of concern of the day, which are, I agree, incorrectly labelled rightist or leftist, are central Christian concerns based on the good Christian faith, right? They are concerns that, generally speaking, the common Muslim is quite happy to agree and find common ground with.
Right.
But no.
Let me reply to that.
And I suggest to you that there is value there to be found.
Okay, let me reply to what you're saying. Let me reply to what you're saying.
With this bipolar ghettoisation of people and thinking and so on.
Let me reply.
I will, Bob,
okay,
but
go on.
I'll just to satisfy myself.
Yeah, go on, finish your point and then I'll reply.
You seem to be inferring and insisting that Muslims and Christians in this country of ours cannot have common ground, and I think that idea is part and parcel of the problems, much of the problems that we face today.
Okay, let me reply to your point.
We need to get beyond that, Bob.
All right, let me reply. So he's saying two contradictory things. One, he said that the things that I outlined were things that Muslims could find common ground on. In other words, he accepted the thesis that Muslims can make common ground with Christians on the goals that Christians agree.
And vice versa.
But then he contradicts that in his next breath, and I will interrupt you at will if you interrupt me again.
I will.
Right, I will interrupt you at will if you interrupt me again. Right, ladies, and then you'll complain about it and say it's a monologue and it's a diatribe and you're not listening, but here you are interrupting. But now let me explain something to you. Let me explain that our self-identified Muslim doesn't even know his own religion, because Christians must oppose Islam. Christians must oppose abortion. My apologies. Christians must oppose abortion, but Islam permits abortion. Christians must oppose polygamy, but Islam permits polygamy. Christians must oppose slavery, but Islam permits slavery, ladies and gentlemen. So I now want him to explain to me, bearing in mind that Christians must oppose abortion, polygamy, and slavery, how does he say that Christians and Muslims can form a common ground on the question of polygamy first? Explain to us where Christians and Muslims form a common ground when we want to outlaw polygamy, but you want to make polygamy legal. Go on, explain.
Why do you want to outlaw it?
Right. The reason why we should outlaw polygamy is because it contradicts the teachings of the New Covenant. Christ has one bride in the church. The leaders of the church must be men of one wife. When Christ talks about marriage in the context of talking about divorce, he references Adam and Eve, how God created the institution of marriage, not Adam, Eve, Aisha, Khadija, Fatima and Sajida.
Yeah, but that's the Christian point of view.
Correct. So how do we find common ground?
That's not the only point of view.
So how do we find common ground between those that support adultery legalized in polygamy and those that see it as adultery and want to outlaw it?
Well, just as the Muslims are not going to impose polygamy on you, it's not for you to necessarily impose your views on other people.
You haven't answered the question. How do we find common ground?
You conduct your married lives according to your...
So a live and let live
according to your
attitude.
beliefs?
A live and let live attitude. Is that what you're saying?
I think it is.
Right, here's the problem with that. The problem with that is he now wants us to adopt a liberal secular attitude towards the family and towards marriage. This we cannot do. In other words, what he's saying is, I should adopt common ground based on his political agenda, not my own, which is exactly what I tried to get him to see right at the beginning, that there is no neutral ground. There is no neutral ground for us to frame the political agenda. And so we as Christians can't go along with your liberal secularism. And by the way, Islam would impose itself on Christians. They would impose the jizya on Christians. Do you know that?
The only one imposing,
do you know that?
The only one imposing.
Do you know that?
Religious views.
Do you know that?
Is you.
Do you know that?
Is you.
Do you know that?
Do I know what?
That Muslims would impose the jizya on Christians.
Where? When?
When they dominate.
When they dominate?
Yes.
Is that what you're frightened of?
That's what history teaches. Do you know any history?
I know a bit of history.
What happened to the Christians in Egypt? Go on, tell us.
Very clever. Very, very clever.
What happened to the Christians of Syria?
Why are we now talking about the Christians of Syria and
because
Egypt? Why are we
I'll tell you why.
Why are we not talking about
tell you why.
People like
I'll tell you why.
And me
because
here in
this
the UK.
ignoramus who doesn't know anything about Islam
Listen
doesn't
to the
know
monkeys. Listen to these monkeys.
Doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything.
Slander and libel. This
doesn't know that jizya would be imposed upon Christians, and there are countless historical examples of that being done. His live and let live attitude, his live and let live attitude is not practiced by Islam. And this is what happens by liberal ignoramuses who convert to Islam because their lives are empty and they have no direction in their life.
Am I right? Two things.
Just in a discussion debate with him. Just in a debate with him.
Pay tax.
Yeah.
It's a tax.
Right. Do you mind if he just asks me
It's
two
a social
questions?
tax.
Do you mind if he just asks me two questions?
It's speakers call.
Right. Lee, he's done.
You're
He's done. Right, go on.
No.
So just out of curiosity, what does his symbol mean?
It's a symbol of nexus.
Like of a coming together
Yeah.
of different things.
Yes.
Right. Be interesting to see how you reconcile that to Islam. But maybe that's a conversation for another time.
So I don't think the problem is with Islam.
With what?
With coming together.
But the problem that you've got to address, I think, is on what basis do we come together? Because your coming together seems nebulous, amorphic, and non-specific. On what do we come together?
Well, Bob, as I tried to bring to your attention earlier on, some of the things that you were pointing out,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, although I've got you down as a religious fundamentalist hate preacher, right?
Yep.
Basically a jihadist by any other name.
Yeah. No slander there, but carry on.
Well, you're a crusader, which is a jihadist by another name. But what I tried to do was to point out that there are many things that you raised yourself.
Yeah.
That as a Muslim, we would very definitely be buying into those areas of concern. The difference is the ability or inability to see that as areas of common ground. For example, when I did point that out to you earlier, the first thing you did was insist on going off on a tangent to find areas of difference, and there can be difference. That's the world that we live in. You know, it's natural and normal for diversity, right? In human life, right? Whether it's religious, political, or whatever. Okay, and if the only way that we can deal with that diversity and difference is to fight and attack each other, have a mindset, a mentality that insists on defeating the opposition rather than finding, okay, you have polygamy.
I think I understand your point. Can I reply? So the point
do you understand that?
Well, all right. Let me repeat what I think you're trying to say to me. You're trying to say to me that rather than look for the things that divide us, we should look for the things that unite us, and that there are many things that unite Christians and Muslims with others together. Is that fair? Have I understood your point?
That's pretty fair. Pretty
now let me
reasonable.
reply to it.
But the only thing I would say is it's not necessarily ignoring the things that divide us, but it's not necessarily making that the sole focus and raison d'etre for contention and opposition and struggle and strife.
Let me reply. So, because I doubt seriously your grasp of Islam. I doubt seriously that you. I didn't interrupt you.
I doubt your
grasp I didn't interrupt you. I let you finish.
You're setting out a
finish.
premise
I let you finish. Right. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. If you can't live by your let's meet in the middle kind of ethics, then I'll just walk on because there's more interesting people to talk to if you're just going to interrupt me constantly. I listen to you without interruption. Okay. So let me speak without interruption.
Will you?
Okay, have a good day. There's no conversation here. Have a good day.
No, there's no conversation, Bob, because you cannot maintain it.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
God bless you, bro. Yeah, God bless you.